Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm very obviously not in Japan right now, but basically what happened was we were trying to film some of the A-roll outside of the B&B that we stayed at. It didn't quite work out in terms of the wind sound, a couple of bits and pieces that were there that weren't great. So then we opted just to film the A-roll for the B-roll back home so we could kind of recall a little bit more clearly what was going on. Japan was hectic. I thought I would kind of break up the days as they were. It's very hard when you're there to try and enjoy the moment and really be present in what's going on, because obviously Japan is one of those places you want to try and absorb as much of the atmosphere as you can without obviously spending too much time thinking about how things are going to look on film and XYZ. Either way, I thought I'd do the A-roll now that we're back home and I can kind of in some way or another try and recall all of the details. It was an absolutely mega trip. It was likened to what people would call a boys trip, but realistically it was just 7 like-minded people who wanted to experience Japan. Having some friends, some allies over there made it super easy for us to be able to enjoy the experiences and take in the culture the way we wanted to take it in. Everybody was of the same frame of mind, which was good. So basically, thanks to Jeff, aka Makito JZX, Alec Pender, aka No Plans Co on Instagram, there was a lot of cool experiences that we got to have over there that we wouldn't have otherwise had without them. So first things first, massive shout out to those guys for helping us really maximize our experience over there. I guess trying to recall everything is going to be a little bit difficult without actually having all of those things in front of me. Pretty wild trip that started the late afternoon. We flew out on the Monday. Fortunately, everybody got through security. We got all the boarding passes, everything worked out well. There was no delays. We got there with plenty of time in our pockets to kind of relax and get ourselves ready to go. In turn, just ended up being, I think, somewhere in the realm of like 11 rounds of James Franco's. It was pretty buck wild just to get onto the plane in the first place. Once we kind of got on the plane, it was a decent flight out to Guangzhou. So we flew China Southern this time around, flying direct last year, but this time we found some pretty cheap flights that everybody could kind of get on board with, reasonably priced flights, and we wanted to try an alternative to the quite expensive direct flights where everything was included. So meals and checked baggage and carry-on baggage and everything. It was super competitive, like hard to believe that that you would fly any other way. We did kind of stop over in Guangzhou and get some Starbucks, which I've got some footage of, which I'll probably slot in there. I guess throughout the videos I'm going to try and slot in and out between Australia in the future and Japan in the past, so it kind of all gels together and it makes sense. Really happy with it. First night we got in, obviously pretty smooth sailing in terms of getting through the airport, getting our rental van, the very special Honda step wagon, which obviously had a lot of what are you doing step wagon jokes involved. The thing got sent to within an inch of its life. It was incredibly economic. It carted around 700 blokes eating fried chicken flat stick. Never missed a beat. It was incredibly economical, incredibly reliable, which is what you come to expect from Hondas, I guess. It was a very uninspiring, like 1.5 litre turbo CVT thing. But we definitely maximised all of those 1.5 turbocharged litres and definitely stretched out the band on that CVT. Getting back on track, we landed in Airbnb, checked in, everything was super smooth. The Airbnb was amazing. It was called Samurai House, which was in Yokohama area, Yokohama-shi. 5-minute walk either direction to a Family Mart or a 7-Eleven. All in all, if you're catching cheap flights and getting decent accommodation, you're not going to pay as much as you think. Pretty much we got checked in, wanted to tee up with all of the other guys, Zane, Jeff, Sam, and a few of the guys that work in the military bases over there in Atsugi. Once we landed in, we touched base with them and they're like, hey man, we're just trying to put an alternator in Zane's car because the alternator had gone bad, and they were heading out to Yamanashi to do some drifting. Managed to somehow, even though half of us were under the influence of 196 at 9%, we did manage to get past through security and we got cleared to go into the military base. So technically speaking, we went to America while we were in Japan too, which is pretty cool. In there was some absolutely mega cars. So I'll cross over to the footage in Japan in the past from the future, and I basically run through some of the stuff that I saw there, including running into one of our friends, Sam, who was actually just pulling in as we were sorting out the alternator. All right, so we came down and there's about 15 blokes standing around watching an S15 get fixed. Stuff at the gate. It was all pretty much done, so the boys are just getting the alternators in. There's a bunch of cool stuff here. It's crazy how these guys that are serving here just get to kind of hang around and have access to such cool shit. Yeah, there's some pretty impressive cars that are just here in the car park area. Like where they're sitting, there's like an absolutely mint 33 GTR. There's another standard S15, obviously Zane's S15 that's there as well, which is mega too, because it's got like this high fleck paint job, a little bit beaten up in the front because that's just Zane. Yeah, it looks mega, and it's nice to see that these guys are still kind of getting around it. Cool, but there's some pretty cool things hanging around here, and that's just the thing about coming to Japan as well. I love coming here because, man, everywhere you look, there's always something, you know what I mean? There's always... How's the timing? Hey! Hiya, brother! I'm doing a bit of YouTube, man. I'm one of those cunts now, you know, doing all the YouTube. How you doing, bro? You know?
They're pretty anal about, like, if you don't live on base, you're not military, and you don't have, like, obviously, like, you guys have, like, because I tried coming over here in my buddy's car one time, and it's, like, not a white plate, like, American shit.
Yeah.
And they were like, yo, you gotta get a pass from the thing, and I was like, I work here.
Maybe they're like Aussies, man.
That's the whole team.
Legend. Anyway, that was pretty good timing. So that's Sam, another friend of ours that lives out this way, and he's just kind of pulled in to see what we're doing, because I think after we get everything done, we're going to head up to Yamanashi and do some toge stuff. The guys are going to practice out there. But anyway, this is what I was kind of talking about. You got a prelude, it's over here, spin this around. Got this red 180 that's kicking it here. So Altezza over there, doesn't have front bar. DC2 over there. And next to that is an AW11. It's killer, man. I really, it's nice to get out here and see that these guys are getting a chance to be with these cars that they can't normally get. So, yeah. So anyway, we'll see what the rest of the night looks like, and we're going to go do some drifting up in Yamanashi. So that should be mega, and then we'll finish that off with Daikoku tomorrow. So once the alternator was sorted out, made the call that by the time they got it in, basically by the time we'd decided, or by the time it was done, the call was made that it was way too late for us to head out to Yamanashi. So from where we were to get out to the spot in Yamanashi would have taken about 2.5 hours. We were already about 45 minutes away from B&B. So then it wasn't worth sacrificing. Let's do the mature wise thing. We just got in, we just got checked in, everything's all G. Why don't we just head out to Daikoku for the night? So timing worked out really well. And then we decided to head out to Daikoku, which was obviously part of the plan in the first place, but you know, things have changed. These guys are going out to Yamanashi, so we wanted to check that out too. But then we went to Daikoku, and I don't want to harp on too much about the culture and blah blah, because I don't want to seem like they're gatekeeping or I'm gatekeeping or anything like that. But obviously there's enormous cultural differences between you know, the Australian car scene and, you know, the origins of the Japanese car scene, and some of these, you know, iconic places like Daikoku and stuff, which although they've had some issues with some foreigners of late, you know, still maintain the core value of what it is to be Daikoku. And Daikoku has always been about a place where everybody respects the rules, and the variety in these sort of places is unbelievable, because there is every type of enthusiast just wants to show off their stuff. You know, there's no way we could kind of have that without having somebody rock up in a single Pega AU and do a burnout and ruin it for everyone. So Daikoku is an enormously precious place because people are able to respect the rules, and I guess that's what makes Daikoku what it is. So there was some pretty crazy stuff out there once we got to Daikoku. I didn't actually film a great deal. It was all just kind of bright lights and flashy craziness there. There was like a left-hand drive 2002 like tuner era Civic there. There was a C5 Corvette. There was a immaculate Panda Trueno. There was a bunch of just like real like niche stuff that we don't get a lot of here. In the same way that I'm sure that if they attended one of our Cars and Coffee, they'd be like, oh, well, we don't get to see this sort of stuff in Japan. But I do feel that Japan has this massive diversity in enthusiasts. So alongside, there was obviously like immaculate FD RX-7. There was just so many crazy things that it's hard to recall all of them. You know, there was, in some occasions, there was different classes of people that had met there. So there was a lot of I think it was CL1, Euro Type R, Accord, which was super clean. You don't see a lot of those here. Again, one of those things that there was such diversity in Daikoku that it's so hard to kind of focus on one thing. And even though it's not, like it seems much bigger on video than it is in real life, as a lot of things in Japan do. You know, even when you're cruising around there and you're having a look at what's actually there, you want to spend the time at looking at everything. So there's so much to take in. So you hardly go, oh, I'm gonna get my phone out and record this and take photos and take videos. Fortunately, Simon was on the trigger, hence why the photo quality was not great. Simon jumped on the trigger and he was taking all of the, you know, the vertical photos while we were there and uploading it so you guys could see those. Tried to do as much as I could. in landscape, but a lot of the photographers and videographers who have been there will be able to tell you that the lighting is so like it's just a blend of lighting. Like you got a lot of artificial lighting that comes through, a lot of headlights, a lot of shadows. It is a pretty terrible place to try and record video, especially of cars, because unless you've got a full-blown lighting setup, and people kind of respect that space so they don't kind of get in the way of everything. The likes of like a full-blown GT3 Z4 race car that was there, you could hear that it had full-blown sequential transmission and all the rest of it. So an enormous blend of things that were there. So Daikoku on the first night was amazing, and it was the first time for basically everybody there, aside from myself, on the trip. So it was pretty cool, man, that everybody got to experience that. But in saying that, we're quite blessed that we've got pretty special cars and coffees and stuff like that happen around here. So super grateful for that. And basically by the time we'd gotten to the end of Daikoku, one of the guys that came with us had ended up, falling asleep standing up from how tired we were. So I think we ended up checking in that night at around 2 o'clock. So we were pretty wrecked by the time we got home. So all in all, it was an amazing first day. We had a bunch of fun just trying to get on the plane, let alone once we landed. So we didn't let the long trip slow us down. We did start ticking things off pretty quickly, and that was the theme for most of the trip there. We were kind of smashing things out pretty quickly, breaking up the days in different videos because it gets too much to kind of do everything in one video, and then we'll come back through and then start talking about some of the workload that we've got on. We've got some pretty special things that are going on in the shop as well, and I know I committed those first, but I didn't get the chance to film before we went to Japan, and I got to get through all of the content for Japan first. So I will get through the days of Japan first, and then we'll start talking about the wheel stuff, which I know you guys are hanging on to, so stay tuned for that stuff as well. But if you've made it this far through the video, that means you've enjoyed the content, and we appreciate every single one of you, subscribers, non-subscribers, commenters, non-commenters, whatever you want to do, man. But we appreciate you tuning into our content, and I hope that this was enough of an insight as to how it was for us to go out to Japan for the first day. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode, which will probably have a roll that looks exactly like this because I'm filming all of it at the same time. Thanks so much, guys. We appreciate you.